Hello, friends. This is a special feature. We are adding an analysis of Liz Holden's query and first page here. If you haven't seen the full episode with Liz, it is most likely just under this one in your podcast player. It's called The Roller Derby of Querying. We recommend that you start there, learn about Liz, learn about the story behind the story, and then come back here for the analysis of her work. We know that sometimes the best way to learn how to write your query and page is to see some other ones that do a really, really good job, and then talk about why each element works. If you'd like to follow along and view this visually as we go down the page and click on things and point to exactly what we're talking about, you can head to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@Manuscript Academy spelled out, or I'll put the link in the show notes. All right, enjoy. Hope it's helpful. All right, we are here to talk with Elizabeth Holden, author of Mighty Millie Novak, coming out soon. Yes, when is your publication due?
Yeah, August 20th.
Woo! We're so happy for you.
I'm so happy. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
of
for
course.
having me.
Oh, we're thrilled. We love good stories for good people. So we think your query is a great example of a query done well, and your first page is a great example of a first page done well. So we wanted to just kind of dive in and show what you did well on the page so others can get that pattern in their head and get the voice in their head and just kind of see what you did as a positive example. And I think it's a great way to just learn. So Liz, what was your thinking going into this? How did you learn how to write a query this way?
You guys are how I learned to write a query. I mean, I had done research on it. I had, books about what do you actually do if you want to be a writer that people had given me as gifts and stuff. And so I was kind of aware of the process. But I think that I got decent at writing queries for the previous book that I was querying that got a lot of interest, although I never got an agent from it. And I really honed that query as a member of Manuscript Academy. And I feel like I sound like this is some sort of sponsored thing, and it's not. I'm just being honest. Like that is totally true. By like listening to your podcast, I really felt like I got a lot out of hearing other people's queries. If you hear a bunch of them, you start to sort of like learn the pattern to them and learn like what's working and what's not, and just sort of internalize it. And so hearing you and Julie talk about these, hearing your guests on the podcast go through queries they've gotten that they liked or didn't, and it's just the repetition of that and reading a lot and listening a lot. And then I also did a few consultations with agents through Manuscript Academy. I would post in the Facebook group, and I felt like for my previous novel, I got a really good query after a lot of iterations. And then when I wrote this new one in 2020 and wanted to get a query letter together, I think at that point I sort of had the structure down and the concepts down and was able to get it pretty good off the bat.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. So much of this is repetition. Reading queries in your genre, reading book jacket copy in your
Yeah.
genre, looking at what other people do with their queries. I know it probably sounds like an impossible task. You look at all of these incredible pitch letters when you see them online, or you see them in one of our panels, or you see just what other folks are doing, and it looks like it's so many parts that there's no way you're going to get it right from zero. But I really think that, again, you just look at them enough and you start to see the pattern, and then you say, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, just doing it in little pieces at a time. I'd advise not in this one, it worked out, but like with my other one, I did a lot of like being like, good enough, I'll query some agents. And then I'd be like, ooh, now I see I really could have made this a lot better. So I kind of wish I'd spent a little more time in the query before I actually did the querying, because it got so much better and I'd already queried probably 50 agents at that point.
You know
But
what?
that's okay.
I don't think there's such a thing as a regret-free querying process.
That's such a good point. Yeah, that would be highly weird. Unusual.
Weird.
Yeah.
It would be weird. So yes, if any of you out there have made mistakes in your querying process, you are not alone. Everyone does, and often it still works out.
That is such a good point.
Yeah, well, you learn by doing. Okay, so let's dive in. First of all, we have this line here. Thanks so much for your kind message, reaching out to me on Twitter after my quote, rejected because I'm married to a man tweet, unquote, exploded. So this is a great reminder of where the agent found you, the interaction you have had. And again, it's always nice to personalize, I think, just to show that you know that that person is a human being. I know that there are some studies lately that show that it doesn't matter that much. I think it's a nice bonus, so you might as well do it. So the query goes on. Mighty Millie Novak, my contemporary YA, combines the fierce devotion to sports and Sarah Henning's Throw Like a Girl, which is a great specific comp, with the queer first love and Midwestern setting of Leah Johnson's You Should See Me in a Crown. Okay, so with these two very specific comps, you say a lot about your story in very few words, which I think is really great because you're doing double duty here. You're showing the comps, you're showing the research, you're showing where this would be on the shelf, and you're giving us the main components, meta tags, of your story so we can get a good sense of what's going to happen before we even exit the first paragraph. So well done. It is complete at
Thank you.
69,000 words. Okay, great opening here. 16-year-old Millie lives for roller derby. So this is a really good introductory sentence. It shows what your character wants. And the 16-year-old tips us off again that this is YA. That's just generally how YA and middle grade pitches start, with the age, what the character wants, and a cute sentence like this. So well done. If she were only stronger and faster, which is a great way to show her goals, maybe her teammates wouldn't see her as just the goofy one, the comic relief. And this is great character building right here. Maybe she'd get the attention of the cute girl in the all-star team too. Love how you introduce the romantic element. You just give all of these layering details in a really natural way, so we never feel overwhelmed. I like to say agents want to feel that they're going to get an A on the pop quiz of your query. And
Oh, interesting.
the way that you deliver information, we're never going to go, oh my gosh, I need a tutor to understand this. No, it is easy to understand still so far. A note to the science fiction and fantasy writers, this is probably hardest on you just because you have the most to tell us about. So
Oh,
keep
I
in mind,
bet.
if you're
Yeah.
writing science fiction and fantasy or any genre where you have to build a world, sometimes historical, expect that it will be a little bit harder, and that's not your fault. That's just how it goes. Okay, at least Pumpkin, Millie's super loyal, super cool best friend and teammate, always has her back. So this is a really great way to not only show us that she has friends to build her world a little bit, but it also sets the tone. If you give her a friend this good, this cool, this loyal, it kind of tells us about the world too. It kind of gives us faith in her world. It teaches us some of the parameters of the story. Generally, you wouldn't say, oh my gosh, this character has a great, super loyal, super cool best friend, and the next paragraph, everybody dies. That's just not going to go together.
Yeah.
So in a way, this is a way to just kind of show us this is a good, fun, upbeat, hopeful story.
Yeah.
Okay, so with Pumpkin's help and a little bit of deceit. So this is a great way to raise a question and build intrigue. You know, what kind of deceit? What is she going to do? But you do it without confusion. So every query is a balance of questions answered and questions asked. This is a question that is asked or raised here. It's something we don't know, and we're going to keep reading to find out. You just want to be careful that when you raise questions in your query, it's not such a big question that we don't feel we can understand the rest of the book without knowing that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And people do that all the time. It's, well, I'm trying to build tension. Okay, you built confusion. So the line
Yeah.
between the two is a little bit blurry. Just keep in mind, you want people to, again, feel that they're going to get an A on the pop quiz of your work. So with Pumpkin's help and a little bit of deceit, Millie makes a plan to master a challenging new derby skill and get her crush to fall for her. So this line to me is great because it makes me picture an 80s training montage. I am picturing her jumping around doing skills, learning new things, motivational music, and really seeing her goals here. So this is
And
a really visual way to show her goals.
And I must have done something right because I've had two different reviews of the actual book that have mentioned that in parts it reads like a training montage in a movie
Great.
and how fun that is. So, all right.
Yeah, no, that's great. Kind of we think sometimes about the elements that would go in a movie trailer. And so right here is the part that would go in the movie trailer. It's visual, it's goals, it's working towards something. So that's really helpful as well too. It's imagery, clarifying, it accomplishes a lot. Instead, Millie has disastrous games and repeated conflict with Stork. So I think this is a great way to build in the conflict and tension because so far everything's mostly going okay. We need conflict, of course. We can't have a 100% conflict-free book. And I almost wondered, and you can tell me, Liz, did you think, my goodness, my query is free of conflict? I will literally use the word conflict.
No, that didn't even occur to me. I know I fooled around with that line a lot because it's not that they're like arguing. And I was really trying to figure out like they have conflict, but it's not like I'm like, how do I describe this sort of tension and like competitiveness and Millie's sort of insecurity when she compares herself to Stork? I was really trying to like figure that out. And I finally was just like, well, it's conflict. We're going with that.
Yeah,
So
no, it's great. It's age appropriate. It's thoughtful. It's a great way to go about just showing us what is happening here. And a talented teammate with whom Millie and Pumpkin despise. Worse, she begins to suspect Pumpkin may not be the supportive friend she appears to be. This also adds a layer of tension and conflict. And it makes me wonder about that. What in the world is Pumpkin going to do? Yikes, but I don't need to know now. So it's another question raised without confusion, which is great. Navigating a complicated friendship is even tougher than growing up as an athlete. Tougher than that, realizing the person she's in love with might not be her longtime crush after all. So this is a great moment of character growth. And you kind of take paragraph A, 16-year-old Millie lives for roller derby. That paragraph shows us all the things that are great and possible. This paragraph shows us all the things she's going to have to overcome and all the growth she's going to have to do. And that's really nice because we don't want a story where the character starts and ends in the same place. We want a character who goes through things,
yeah.
grows as a person, learns some lessons along the way, kind of like that exercise where you're supposed to number a page vertically. And each number is a chapter, and give your chapter a plus and a minus. Does your character start happy and sad, or vice versa? They can't stay in the same place too long. The larger arcs of your book, they need to be moving too. So this is a great way to just kind of show that you have an intuitive understanding of that. And it makes me trust that some things will be different by the end of the book, which is great and important. So
Thank you.
like, yeah, absolutely. So like Millie, I'm obsessed with roller derby. So this is a very well-placed line. From the paragraph above, we could have been like, this poor girl, everything's going to be super stressful. Yikes. And then we get here, like Millie, I'm obsessed with roller derby. There's almost a buoyancy to this line. Like it's light, it's happy, and somehow the tone of this line being happy makes me think things are going to end up okay with Millie too, which is great. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah. But this is so interesting for me because I'm like, oh, that's why it works. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, good.
Because it's one of those things where I can feel like, oh, I wrote it this way. It's not as good as when I write it this way, but I don't always know why it's better. So I'm learning here too.
That'd be
I
funny.
love
We could
it.
make two versions of your
Yeah.
query fight. Okay, I've played for the Madison Roller Derby where I go by antimatter. Cute. So this is great bio, great personal experience since 2015. I have had short stories published in literary magazines such as Punchnulls, Everyday Fiction, and Stirring, and I've written extensive physics textbook supplements for McGraw-Hill, Pearson, and Macmillan Publishing. So this is a great way to show that you have a commitment to writing over time. This isn't a passing fancy. I mean, I think from reading your query, we would know you'd been at this for a while just because you get everything right. But it's always nice to see that this is the sort of thing that you're really dedicated to and will continue to try to do. In addition to my passions for writing and roller derby, I'm a physics professor and co-founder of a travel company. So this shows that you're a successful, interesting person. We love to know that people have a job that they've been able to maintain for a while. We love when people have long-standing relationships with their job or their friends, or all of these
Hmm.
signs of you being easy and professional and consistent to get along with. Um,
Interesting. That makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So it's really nice for us to just see that, you're able to maintain your life and probably your friendships and therefore probably your agent relationship too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, I have attached the full as a docs file, though if you'd prefer a different format or amount, I like that because you are acknowledging that people have different computers, you're showing that you're flexible, and you're showing you care about how agents feel, which is so lovely. So yes, that is a great way to do that. Let me know and I'll send right away. I look forward to hearing from you. Take care, Liz. So I think that's a really nice way to just show right away your story, the conflict, the arcs, the growth, and show you to be a professional person. So I think all of this, if it was broken down into a formula, would be a really smart formula. So, you've got your personalization, you've got your character, you are talking about comps and what aspect of each comp here relates to your story. So then you're doing comps and story and meta tags all at the same time. You've got your line here, which is saying this is how old the character is. If it's YA and middle grade, that's how you start. Sometimes picture books as well. What they want more, and their goals, and that they don't have it, who they are. And also throwing in this romantic element here is great as well, because then we're layering on all of these goals, all of these possibilities, and again, giving us this super loyal, super cool best friend, even if it only lasts for this paragraph, shows us the parameters of the world and what could happen. So then we've got, again, everything here turning on its head. Things that Millie tries, what they don't work, disastrous, conflict, suspecting that Pumpkin's not the same friend, and realizing that maybe her crush isn't what she wanted. It's a mirror image of the first paragraph, but it shows growth in a really cool way. And then again, love your bio, love that you talk about your personal experience with the topic first, and also that you show that you've been writing for a long time. We love to see that. And that you have a job, or, again, it doesn't have to be a job. It could be if you're raising kids, we love that too. If you have 12 cats and they're all incredible, we want to know that too. I know some folks don't like cats. I don't understand it. But whatever is happening in your life that shows that you are a nice, interesting person, you can put that there. And again, I love the consideration here for showing that you are flexible in terms of how you will send your work. So
And I
well
mean,
done, Liz.
I've always felt like, are you kidding? If an agent is going to look at my work, if they want me to have it sent by, carrier pigeon or whatever, like, you let me know.
Yeah, I know. That's not
But
everybody, though. Every so often we get someone who's like, you will read it in Comic Sans. Okay, let's move on to the first page. So your first line is, the next 5 minutes, we're going to determine everything about my future. This is a great way to set your stakes really high right away. You've got our attention. And then the rest of the sentence is, or at least my future in roller derby, which was all that matters. So this softens the high stakes of the first part of the sentence, which is good. It brings us back down to earth. It grounds us in what your character wants and gives us also an idea of, okay, we're probably in a roller rink, so we know what to picture. You've got, I wiped the sweat off my face with the hem of my t-shirt. Good visual details. Took one more puff from my inhaler, which is so cute. It shows she's a little bit of a vulnerable nerd. I love that. And skated back onto the track. My muscles were warm from the previous hour of drills and skills, which is great. This all sounds hard, but also somehow adds to being able to see the scene you're building. We can picture people doing all kinds of drills, and I'm picturing elbow pads and knee pads and helmets and gates and
yay.
all those things. And my mind, well, it was as clear as it was going to be, all things considered. The only thing left, the dreaded 27 in 5. So here you define what we're about to do in the next arc, which is nice. You were just leading us right there. Get it, Mighty, Pumpkin shouted from the sidelines, which is great. It's cute. I like that her best friend, even if it's for now, is here supporting her. She'd already done hers, skating 29 easy laps in 5 minutes, which sounds impossible to me, but that's another story for another day. And now was sitting on the edge of the rink, unlacing her skates. Good imagery. I smiled at her weakly, glad for the encouragement, but at the same time wishing she wouldn't watch, which is a great emotional combination. Makes sense. She likes the encouragement, but she's a little embarrassed. The fewer witnesses, the better. I'd gotten the required 27 laps a few times in practice, but that was practice when the pressure was off, and it always had been close. Today it seemed less likely given my nerves, my exhaustion from the rest of the assessment, and the effort it took to push away thoughts of my parents' announcement this morning. So this is a great way to raise a question without confusion. We'll keep reading to get this answered. Stork rolled onto the track. I like that, rolled, because yes. And lined up behind me. Great. Stork was tall and angular, like her namesake. Her legs devoured the track effortlessly. I think devoured is the perfect verb, especially if you're going to find her kind of mean later. She would blow past me immediately. Don't be nervous, Mighty, which is nice. It shows that, she's intense, but she's not mean. The white of Stork's mouthguard flashed as she smiled at me. Good. I smiled back half-heartedly, not replying, vaguely offended. In what universe would I not be nervous? If I got even 26 and a half laps, it meant no real roller derby for me, just more time with the skater tots, which I thought was cute, practicing and hoping and dreaming. Everybody ready, the powerful voice of Coach Anne boomed through the rink. I braced my toe stops on the ground and bent my knees, ready to sprint at the whistle blast. I could do this. I didn't need to compete with Stork. Everyone was always talking about her speed, complimenting her, saying what potential she had as a jammer. Wouldn't they all be surprised if it were me, Millie Novak, aka Dino-Might, who was the fastest? I think Dino-Might is cute. I could be more than just the goofy one, the comic relief. I could be an actual threat on the track. I could, and I love her dreaming like this. So for this age group, this usually means it'll work out in the story. Usually if a character really wants something big like this, at least they're going to get a little bit closer to it by the end of the story. So in a sense, you're hinting at what will happen. And I love it when first pages hint at the possibilities for the rest of the book. And just watching her dream this way is really fun. The whistle blew, startling me. Instead of the perfect sprint on my toes to accelerate, I stumbled, slipped, and flung my arms out for balance. Yikes, this adds a lot of tension. Stork smacked in my flailing arm. Yikes again. She blasted past me and I tumbled onto my knees. Oh God, there went my chance. And this is such a great way to show us that this was an absolute disaster while we understand why it is a disaster, what's at stake, what's going on, and what a great way to end your first page.
Oh, thank you.
So does she end up getting back onto the team? Do they give her another chance? What happens, Liz?
So it's interesting. What happens in the first chapter is she counts her own laps in her head and realizes she's only got 26, but her coach got briefly distracted and thinks that she got 27. And so Millie decides she'll just be quiet about it.
Wow.
And feels a lot of anxiety about kind of hiding that because she's knows in her head that, oh, I didn't actually pass this part of the assessment, but I want this so bad. I'm just going to be quiet.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's such an interesting flip, though, because right here we think it's impossible. And the way that you keep changing what is possible and not possible is really cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Love
And I
it.
think I said this on the other podcast, but I wanted to start it with something actiony, but also not actual roller derby because it can be kind of complicated to jump right into. So something, easy to grasp of like, do you get this many laps or don't you? So, yeah.
I've started to think that the best first pages have your protagonist either gain power or lose power because we
Cool.
can't help but be invested in the power dynamics of your character, how it relates to other people. And here you really establish the kind of power she wants. She wants to be on the team. She wants to be as fast as Stork. She wants to not embarrass herself in front of her friend. And all of that from your first page appears to just go sideways. And I think the way that you set it up and how important it is and why specifically it's important, and then taking that away is a great way to make the power go down here because it should go up and down throughout your story. Here we are at the bottom, and then it will come back up again when she makes the team.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it.
Well, good. I mean,
Thank you.
obviously it worked. Okay, so where can we
Yeah.
find your book? Where can we find you?
And you can find me at Elizabeth-Holden.com. And you can also find more information about Mighty Millie Novak there. My book will be out, like I said, August 20th. And I mean, the normal spots, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, indie bookstore websites. And you can also get it directly from Flux Books, which is my publisher. And I have links to all of the different places you can pre-order on my website as well.
Great. Well, congratulations, Liz. We can't wait to see how it goes. Are you going to be skating around your book launch?
I am. And in fact, my book launch party is going to start with a bunch of my roller derby teammates doing a little bit of derby so that people can see that. So it's going to be great.
I love it. I love it. Oh, and right after we did the other podcast, I met with someone who's like, by the way, would you want to see roller derby? Well, yes, I would.
Yes. Yes, you would.
Yes,
awesome.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. And
thank you.
Keep us updated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm real excited. Thank you.